Now, it's relatively easy to come up with a hot list for potential coaches for new positions. You just look at which teams were hot last year and the years before that. So I'm going to dive deeper and look at coordinators that could possibly get a call from a big-time school for a head coaching position. Let's go. What's going on, everybody? It's me again, Golden Blue Dude, and if you haven't already, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button. I do videos every single day, sometimes college football and sometimes college basketball. The best way to support the channel and get more of my content is hit the subscribe button. Also, quick reminder, my P.O. Box is up and running, so send your new unopened merchandise repping your team to P.O. Box 360, Liberty, South Carolina 29657, and I will open it up on my show and rep your team. And depending on how good it is, I might just add it to my background. Also, remember, don't send anything big. It's not that big of a box. We're talking about potential offensive and defensive coordinators that could be in high demand in the near future. First of all, I'm not putting Brent Venables, the defensive coordinator for Clemson, on this list. We already know he's a high commodity. First up, my honorable mentions. Really, the only reason these guys are honorable mentions is because I don't want this video to take forever. These guys are very deserving of a look as well. First up, Army defensive coordinator Nate Woody. The 60-year-old defensive coordinator led Army to a 9-3 season. They only allowed 14.8 points per game, 160 offensive yards a game, and the #1 total defense, including several shutouts. Next up, defensive coordinator Scott Simmons for Liberty. Liberty went 10-1, and this guy has 12 years of experience. They allowed 20.5 points per game, 186 offensive yards a game, and they were top 15 in yards allowed, first downs allowed, and third down conversion percentage against. Last on the honorable mention list is San Jose State's defensive coordinator Derek Odom. He helped lead the Spartans to a 7-1 record. He has 21 years of experience. They allowed 19.9 points per game, only 225 offensive yards a game, and they were top 15 in points allowed and yards per play allowed. Now let's get into the names I really wanted to talk about. First up, Coastal Carolina's defensive coordinator Chad Staggs. The head coach for Coastal Carolina, Jamie Chadwell, gets a lot of attention and a lot of credit, and he should. He's done a great job, but part of that is Chad Staggs' defense for the Chanticleers. The Chanticleers had the 19th ranked scoring defense in the nation. They only allowed 20.2 points per game, including several shutouts, only allowing 203 offensive yards a game. This is a team that played a lot of good teams. Liberty, Appalachian State, Louisiana, BYU. If Coastal Carolina has another great season, teams will be fighting over Jamie Chadwell and Chad Staggs. Next up on this list is Arizona State's defensive coordinator Antonio Pierce. He's 42 years old. He's a former linebacker and Super Bowl champion with the New York Giants. And this guy had to earn his spot as the Sun Devils' sole defensive coordinator. He was the co-defensive coordinator with Marvin Lewis, the former coach of the Cincinnati Bengals. So him beating out Marvin Lewis for the sole defensive coordinator spot speaks volumes. One of this guy's biggest strengths is actually recruiting, specifically on the West Coast. He's made a name for himself. And don't forget, he does have a great teacher in head coach Herm Edwards. Personally, I expect Arizona State to compete for and win the Pac-12 South. If that happens, and that defense dominates once again, schools that are looking to recruit better and don't mind a defensive-minded coach will come a-knocking for Antonio Pierce. Next up, the offensive coordinator for Ole Miss, the 37-year-old Jeff Levy. Now, of course, he gets overlooked because he's in the shadow of Lane Kiffin. But Jeff Levy has turned the Rebels' offense into one of the best in the nation. And this isn't the first time he's done that, by the way. He did it at UCF as their offensive coordinator. His offenses have averaged over 41 points per game. That's incredible. 5 times Ole Miss's offenses scored over 40 points in the 2020 season in the SEC. 42 against Kentucky, that was a win. 48 against Alabama, that was a loss. 59 against South Carolina, that was a win. 54 at Vanderbilt, that was a win. And 48 at LSU, that was lost. So don't blame the offense for 2 of their 4 losses. If teams aren't looking at Jeff Levy now, they will be after the 2021 season, because I expect Ole Miss to finish second in the SEC West. Next up is Texas A&M's defensive coordinator, Mike Elko. He's 43 years old, and he helped lead Texas A&M to a 9-1 season. The Aggies had the 9th overall defense, second against the run, 21.7 points per game, and 225 offensive yards per game. This is in the SEC. Don't forget about that. And in 2021, Texas A&M could have a better defense because they were missing a lot of their stars in the 2020 season. Now, he has turned down head coaching position offers in the past, but you never know. If the right school with the right amount of money comes along and they want this guy, he could become a head coach at a high-profile school. Next up is going to be the offensive coordinator for Georgia, Todd Malkin. He's 54 years old. We do know that Georgia's offense was not very good in 2020 before JT Daniels took the helm. But once JT Daniels did take over, that offense took off. Personally, I think Georgia could have the best offense in the SEC in 2021. They have a ton of production coming back in 2021, including quarterback JT Daniels and pretty much all of his weapons. The question is, will Todd Malkin get praised, or will he be labeled as lucky? Next up is going to be the offensive coordinator for Miami, Rhett Lashley. First of all, he's only 37 years old, so he's really young. He has coached an offense to a national championship game in Auburn in 2013. He went from Auburn to UConn to SMU to Miami, and in each stop, the offenses always got better. Everywhere he's gone, the offense has improved almost immediately in year 1. In 2020, Miami went from 90th in scoring to 26th in scoring. They were also 32nd in total offense, which is a big jump from 98 the year before. If you want immediate offensive improvement, Rhett Lashley is your guy. He has a lot of experience and success in doing so. Next up, the defensive coordinator for Oklahoma, Alex Grinch. Defense really doesn't get talked about much these days, but what Alex Grinch has done at Oklahoma is almost miraculous. The Big 12 is known for offense, offense, offense. And trust me, Oklahoma has always had offense, but the problem is, whenever they got to the playoffs, they always stalled because they never could stop anybody. Alex Grinch has turned Oklahoma into a top 20 defense in spite of a rough start in the 2020 season. They only allowed 119 points in the final 7 games of the 2020 season. That's only 17 points per game. That's in the Big 12. Most of the defense for Oklahoma will be back in 2021. I expect that offense to be explosive. I fully expect Oklahoma to be a top 4 team in 2021. And when that happens, watch the doors for head coaching positions fly open for Alex Grinch. Last on this list is offensive coordinator for North Carolina, 52-year-old Phil Longo. This isn't the first time that Phil Longo has turned an offense into an explosive offense. He did it at Ole Miss before North Carolina. He turned the Rebels into a top 20 offense, and he's already done it at North Carolina. And I think that North Carolina will be even better in 2021. In an age where offense is the top priority, Phil Longo might end up being at the top of teams looking for a head coach to bring in an explosive offense. If you have a name that you think deserves to be on this list, let me know in the comments and let me know why. That's all I got for you for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on my next show.